بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All of the hymns and praise are for Allah, who is the sustainer of the universe, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Malik Yawmiddin. He is master of the judgment day. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. We worship you only, and we seek only your assistance, your help. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Show us the path, the straight path. Sirat al-lazina an'amta alayhim. The path of your favored people. Ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim. That is the way other than those of cursed or condemned. And that is not the way of those people who went astray. This is the verbal translation of the passage I recited before you, and I was speaking about seeking the help from other than Allah within the limits which were prescribed by Kitabullah and Sunnati Rasulullah. Some of the people say that they hear worshipping has got three meanings. One is worshipping, and the other one is the obedience. The third one is enslavement or servitude. They believe that all of the three kinds and three categories of the ibadat are specified for Allah, but one has to differentiate between the different categories of the enslavement or the servitude. The devotion and worshipping is speciality of Allah. No one else can be worshipped, and no one else can be believed in as a God or deserving person to be worshipped. But as far as other two types of ibadat are concerned, that means the obedience of Allah and His Apostle and the good people is also necessary. As Quran says, whosoever obeys the orders of the Holy Prophet, he is believed to have obeyed the order of Allah. Means the obedience of the Holy Prophet is also obedience of Allah. And in addition to that, وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ, you would have to follow and obey the person who has obeyed Allah. Means the obedience of Allah is also necessary, being Allah, and the obedience to the Holy Prophet is also necessary, being the Prophet of Allah. And the obedience of the holy people is also necessary, being the holy person and very submissive and very, very obedient to Allah. And as far as servitude is concerned, servitude is also lawful for other than Allah. When Nabi Kareem Islam was alive, all of the companions of the Holy Prophet was surrounding the Holy Prophet. Allah said, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. O my Holy Prophet, asked the people, O my servants, O my slaves. Here, this Ya is a personal pronoun for first person singular number. This qualifies the Holy Prophet because Kul is the reporting verb and Ya Ibadi is reported speech which is attributed to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, in this way, this Ya would qualify and would go to the Holy Prophet. The antecedent of this Ya, personal pronoun, the singular number and the first person, this qualifies the Holy Prophet, which means that, O my Holy Prophet, say to your slaves, La taqnatu min rahmatillah, don't be disappointed from the blessing of Allah, means being the servant and enslaved and slaves of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would be pardoned and they would be blessed, provided that the Holy Prophet confirms their slavery and their obedience. And Hazrat Farooq was reported in Ibn Majah Sharif. Hazrat Shahriullah Muhaddis Delvi, in his book Izalat al-Khifa on Khilafat al-Khulafa, refers to Riyaz al-Nadra by Muhibbuddin Tabari. He writes that once upon a time, Hazrat Farooq was sitting on the pulpit of Medina Tayyibah. Some of the audience asked him when he was in front of the Holy Prophet. He said, Kuntu ma'an Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa kuntu abdahu wa khadimahu. I have been with Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but I was just a servant of the Holy Prophet and I was slave of the Holy Prophet. Once upon a time, Hazrat Farooq was asked about his present status when he was sovereign of the country, and the country, a Muslim country, was the superpower in the world, and no one was there to confront Hazrat Farooq radiallahu anhu. He said, what your position is nowadays? He said, Masali kamasali jamalin anifin yatba'u qa'idahu falyanzur qa'iduhu ayya wajhin yaquduhu. So my position is just like a camel with a trace in its nose, and he follows the camel driver. I am a camel of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu, and my Holy Prophet is my driver. I have got no interference in the policy matter. I have got the unquestioning obedience. My duty is to obey Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam without any question. So unquestioning obedience is a right of the Holy Prophet. And Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu said, I am nowadays a slave of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As a slave has got no interference in the policy matter, I have got no interference in the policy matter. All of the policies framed by the Holy Prophet would be implemented, and I have got no right to change them, to alter them, or to repair them. My duty is to follow Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu. It means that the slavery of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also from the necessities of belief, necessity of Iman. Shaykh Abdullah Sahib Muhaddis Delvi writes about his father in his book Anfasul Arifin. He says that his father, Shah Abdul Rahim, was a very pious person residing in Medina Tayyibah, and in those days there was a person with the name of Abdul Nabi Kashashi. Abdul Nabi Kashashi was dealing in the old thing, the old articles were being sold by him, and he was working like a person living in Medina Tayyibah as a beggar, but he was the top most senior holy person in the Islamic world, and Shah Abdul Rahim Sahib was getting the lesson of spirituality and Sufism from that person. And his name was Abdul Nabi Kashashi. Abdul Nabi means the slave of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the last leader of the syntactics is Abdul Rasul, who was one of the greatest scholar of etymology and syntactics. He is also named Abdul Rasul. So it means that the slavery of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a title and is a prominence for the Muslims. And all of the people who believes in Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as a prophet, their duty is to believe themselves to be slave of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As far as seeking of help is concerned, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, per se, no one is in position to help someone, and no one is allowed to seek the help from anyone else in the world except Allah. But that seeking of help is called intrinsic one, inherent one, per se, means Allah is per se in position to support, and everybody should believe that all of the help is under the jurisdiction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as far as seeking of help from the persons who were dedicated to the power by Allah, just like Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam was reported by the Holy Quran that he wanted to produce the throne of Bilqis, and the people around him were sitting there, and he wanted to see the throne of Bilqis in front of him, and he did not say, oh my Allah, please bring the throne of Bilqis here, when he was nearest to Allah and he was in position to seek the help from Allah as well. But when he thought that it was quite possible for his servant as well, so therefore it should not be asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Man yati bi arsha, who is there to bring the throne of Bilqis? The throne of Bilqis was in the Yemen, and he was sitting in Palestine. So the distance of the Yemen and Palestine can be measured. So it is a matter of not only days, but weeks or months. But here Imam Mufakir-E-Islam rahmatullah alayhi says that, he said, as Asif bin Barqiyah said, Ana atika bihi qabla an yartadda ilayka tarfuk, means I shall bring the throne of Bilqis before you twinkle your eyes. Before the twitching of the eyes, I shall be able to bring the throne of Bilqis in front of you. Here, this seeking of help was not believed as the infidelity or paganism or idolatry, but it was justified by the Holy Quran, because Quran al-Majid expresses with admirable way and appreciated the struggle of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam and Asif bin Barqiyah as well. Here Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi writes in his book Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah, which was referred to by Ruhul Mahani, Sayyid Mahmud al-Lusi Baghdadi. He was one of the greatest scholar of the world. He was Shafi'ite. According to some, he was Hanafiite. But this is a great and lengthy chapter. If I discuss it, it will take some time. But he was one of the greatest scholar, and he was resident of Baghdad Sharif, and he was pupil of Sheikh Khalid Kurdi, who was pupil of Imam Rabbani Mijad al-Sani Sheikh Ahmad Sandi Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayh. And he writes in the book Ruhul Mani, Ma Ghaba Am Majlisi Ata Bi Arshiha E Daman Wa Ijadan. Asif bin Barqiyah did not disappear from the meeting of Sulaiman, but he brought the throne of Bilqis by emitting it from the Yemen and reproducing it from Palestine. So this help was sought by Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam from Hazrat Asif bin Barqiyah, and it was legalized, because the power utilized by Asif bin Barqiyah was not his personal, it was not his intrinsic or inherent, but but it was God gifted. When a person seeks the help from a holy person, believing that this person is not per se in position to help me, but the power must have been given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore he is in position to help me. Similarly, Jesus was reported by the Holy Quran to ask the favor from the Hawarijin. He said, "Qala man ansar ilallah," who is there to support me in the way of Allah, in the mission of Allah. Here Allah did not criticize his behavior or his practice, because he was asking the people to support him under the jurisdiction of Allah, and he was believing that these powers were delegated by Allah to those people. قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله. The Hawariyin said, the supporter of Jesus said that we are ready to help you in the mission of Allah. So this seeking of help and supporting of Hawariyin was not objected, was not criticized, was not condemned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this was subject to Allah and it was under the jurisdiction of Allah. When a person believes a holy person who has got the God-gifted powers, it can be believed and it can be legalized and it is justifiable, because this type of support was proved in all of the prophets and in Holy Quran as well, and in the prophetic tradition as well. In Ibn Majah Sharif, in the Salatul Hajjah, Usman bin Hunayf radiyallahu ta'ala reports a person who came to Muhammad Rasulullah and he was a blind person. He requested the Holy Prophet to support him, and he asked him to restore his eyes. And Nabi Kareem taught him a prayer, and he went in the mosque of the Holy Prophet. He said, "O my Lord, I contact you by virtue of your Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah." And when he went in the mosque, he said, Nabi Kareem was at home. O Prophet of blessing, I seek your help and I contact your Lord by virtue of you. Please help me to restore my eyes. So after this prayer, the eyes of the person were restored. And this Salatul Hajjah was mentioned in Ibn Majah just to teach all of the Muslims that this is one of the way to get the things which are not possible to get in normal rate. Here the help was asked from the Holy Prophet, and it was not prohibited by the Holy Prophet himself or the companion of the Holy Prophet. So it means that one is allowed to seek the help or to ask someone to help when he believes that he per se is not in position to help me, but subject to God, he is competent to help me. Just like the other people were reported to say like that. Imam Abu Hanifa radiyallahu ta'ala writes in his Qasida Nomania, he says, Ya Sayyid as-Sadat, Jitaka Qasidan, Arju Radaka Wahtami Bihimaka. O my Holy Prophet, I came to your shrine. Nabi Kareem was buried in the shrine, and Imam Abu Hanifa, the resident of Baghdad Sharif, came there, and he stood beside the shrine of the Holy Prophet. He said, Ya Sayyid as-Sadate, Jituka Qasidan, O the Supreme Person, the superior to everybody. Every chief is under your jurisdiction, and you are the superior in the world. I came here with intention, means I did not come here without any intention. Just like nowadays, the people say that you should go in Medina Tayyiba with the intention of the mosque of the Holy Prophet, but you should not go with the intention of the visiting of the shrine of the Holy Prophet. What a curious thing is being taught nowadays, that they are believing in the mosque and they refusing the founder of the mosque. All of the mosques were built up on account of Muhammad Rasulullah. Ju'ilat liyal ardu masjidan wa tahura. Nabi Kareem was reported to have said, all of the surface of the earth was changed into the mosque because of my foot when I stepped in this world. So all the category of the earth was changed. So when a person touches the earth and all of the earth becomes the mosque, that should not be forgotten. All of the mosques are by virtue of Muhammad Rasulullah, and Nabi Kareem is not by virtue of any mosque. Imam Muniva says that I did come here, but not by chance or not with the intention of the mosque. Jeto ka sidan, I came to you with intention, or arju radaka wahdami bihimaka, and I expect your pleasure. I think and I expect you will be happy with me, and I am expecting that you would take me in your own sport. And here he says, Ya akram as-sakalain ya kanzal wara, judli bejudek wardani biridaka. Oh, my holy prophet, I believe you to be supreme of the universe, and all of the creatures are subject to you, and you are superior creature of Allah. And judli bejudeka, and I request you to be generous to me and to give me according to your own generosity. Wardani biridaka, and I shall request you to give me a small part, a small charity from the pleasure of Allah which has been granted to you. وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. Allah has said, O my holy prophet, I shall give you so much that you would be pleased. Means on the day of judgment, it would be your duty to get annoyed, and it would be my position to please you. And the people present on the judgment day would enjoy the scene that you are being pleased. O my holy prophet, here Imam Munifa says that, O my holy prophet, I shall request you to be generous to me and give a small portion of your generosity, and I shall request you to give me a small share of the pleasure of Allah which was granted to you, and you are expecting to be pleased on the judgment day, and I want to get a very small share of that pleasure. So these are the references which can be quoted to establish the fact that the pious Muslims have been asking the favor of the Holy Prophet and the pious persons and holy persons. Here, Haji Imdadullah Sahib Muhajir Makki says, Ya Rasul-e Kibriya faryad hai, Ya Muhammad Mustafa faryad hai, aapki imdad ho, mera ya Nabi हाल अबतर हुआ फरियाद है, सख्त मुश्किल में फंसा हुआ आनकर, ओ मेरे मुश्किल कुशा फरियाद है. Here he addresses the Holy Prophet. Nabi Kareem, he invokes the Holy Prophet for help. He says that he is suffering the difficulties and problems, and I shall expect you to help me and to emancipate me from my problems. And Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala was reported by the traditionists in many books, A'udhu billahi min mawdaratin laysa laha aliyun. Oh my Allah, I seek your refuge from all of the difficulties when I am in difficulty, and Ali is who can solve the problems is not present. Means Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala believes Hazrat Ali Murtaza Sher Khuda, the line of Allah, as a solving the problems, as emancipating from the difficulties. He says, Haji Imdadullah Sahib Muhajir Makki said, कैदे गम से अब छुड़ा दीजिए मुझे, कैदे गम से अब छुड़ा दीजिए मुझे, या शहे हर दूसरा फरियाद है. Oh my holy prophet, you are king of the both of the world. You are here a king, and hereinafter you are also king. या शहे हर दूसरा फरियाद है, या नबी अहमद को दर पर लो बुला, इसलिए सुबह मुसाफिर याद है. Here he asked the favor of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and in the next chapter he asked the favor of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He says, Oh Hazrat Ali Sharif Khuda radiallahu ta'ala anhu, you are a person who can solve the problems and requests Allah, O my Allah, Hadiye Alam Ali, मुश्किल कुशा के वास्ते दूर कर दिल से हिजाबे जेल और गफलत मेरे रब, खोल दे दिल में दरे इल्म हकीकत मेरे रब, हादिये आलम Ali, मुश्किल कुशा के वास्ते. He explains the name of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu as a solving of the problem and emancipating from the slavery, from the difficulties and from all of the calamities. So according to Islamic ideology, one is allowed to seek the help from the pious people. Hazrat Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib, Muhaddis Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he writes in his book Bustanul Muhaddiseen, and he writes a biography of Shah Hazarru, who has written the marginal note on Bukhari Sharif. That marginal note is just like similar to a commentary on Bukhari Sharif. He writes about Shah Hazarru that Shah Hazarru was a very pious person, and he was a confluence, means the place where two rivers meet with each other. That is our confluence. He was confluence of the obvious sciences and the secret sciences. He was a compendium of the spirituality and legal knowledge. He writes that he has written a commentary on Bukhari Sharif, and during the commentary of Bukhari Sharif he writes, in kunta fi dakim wa karbin wa bashatin fanade bi ya zarru ko ase bi surati ana samiyum ana jamiyum bil jud minka ana jamiyul li muridihi li shtatihi in innama sata jawru zamani binupati. I am the person who can support my disciples when he is under the burden of the difficulties and problems. And he says, in kunta fi dakim wa karbin wa bashatin fanade bi ya zarru ko ase bi surati. O my disciples, if you are suffering the problems, the difficulties, and you are inflicted with the disasters, you should invoke me, and I shall come and help you. And this was after the typical example of Hazrat Syed Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah Ta'ala, where Hazrat Syed Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah says, Muridi la takhawashin fa inni azumun qatilun indal qitali. O my disciple, you should not be confused in the rattling of the swords and in the rain of the arrows. I can reach under these crucial times as well. Your duty is to invoke me, and my duty is to support you. So it was not criticized by any pious people. All of the four schools of spirituality, they believe in Sayyid al-Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah Ta'ala with innermost feelings, and they are believing in the nobility and superiority and supremacy of Hazrat Sayyid al-Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah. Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib Rahmatullah appreciates the struggles of Shah Hazarru when he is asking his disciples to invoke him. Anali Muridi Jamiul li Shitatihi. He openly says that I am in position to manage the affairs of my disciples. When the vicissitudes of the time attacks on him, and I can support him and I can help him. Here, Hazrat Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib appreciates the struggle. If this invocation of the holy people were prohibited, Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib Rahmatullah would have criticized, but he did not criticize, but he is appreciated. Here, I have got Kiramat-e Imdadiyya, written by Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi. He writes, once upon a time, the disciples of Haji Imdadullah Sahib Muhajir Makki went to Mecca Sharif, and during the journey, their ship was involved in the waves, and there was ups and downs, and all of the passengers were disappointed, and the crews announced that this was the time which was very crucial and very critical time. Therefore, all of the people were asked to pray to Allah. Then Shaykh Muhammad, one of the disciples of Imdadullah Sahib Muhammad Makki, he says that I went in a corner of the ship and I meditated upon, meditation means muraqabah. I meditated over my Shaykh and I saw my Shaykh. My Shaykh was present there, Haji Imdadullah Sahib Muhammad Makki and Hafiz Zaman Sahib. Both of them went there and they supported us, and the ship was emancipated from the involvement of the waves. So this was a proof that the invocation of the pious people is not against Iyyaka nasta'een. This type of help can be asked from the holy people, but intrinsic help depends on Allah. It is under the jurisdiction of Allah to grant anyone to be able to help or to emancipate or to acquit or to support any person in the world, but nothing can be obtained from other than Allah. All of the powers are dedicated to the prophets, to the pious people, and to the spiritual people. Therefore, believing that all of the spiritual persons and holy persons are under the jurisdiction of Allah, then it is lawful to invoke them. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى رَسُولِ الْكَرِيمِ.